Hello, welcome back. It's just good to be back with you all today. I'm just so happy to continue some learning. I just got excited. I know I haven't been making these recordings for long, and we haven't been learning a lot together in this medium at least. But I found this holy sefer, and I've been very inspired by this new, not a new book. Book's been around, but I've kind of opened it up again. It's called Sefer Keter Shem Tov. A little-known book of the collection of the teachings of the holy Baal Shem Tov, a mystical master of the 18th century, who started the Hasidic movement, which is a pietistical, mystical movement of the 1800s, and it's a 18th century, and it continues, of course, today. But really, in the beginning, in its first generational stage, there was something really magical about this tradition. It emboldened and set on fire the population of Eastern Europe, so that they can figure out a way to come closer to God and come closer to Torah through the Baal Shem Tov's Torah. It used to be that you'd have to spend years and years and years and take time out of work to go to yeshiva and learn Talmud, which is sometimes can be very complicated and difficult in order to come close to God. But the Baal Shem Tov really showed a different derech. Really, not saying that, of course, Talmud is bad or any of this other stuff is bad, but that there's a way that we can come closer to God without as much of this. For people who maybe might not have the time, like us modern people today, might not have the time to go and sit in yeshiva for a very long time. But how do we really come close to God? And I remember that this teacher really always was very attractive to me, because if I remember really clearly, why I got into Judaism and religion in general, and it's because when I grew up, I really had a feeling inside myself that there was something behind this world. There was something that was very deep that tied everything together in this world, and I couldn't actually put a name on it, but I knew there was something there, and I really wanted to live a life that was in connection with that spirit. That's something that I couldn't again put a name on, and then I found a path through Judaism, obviously finding wisdom and trying to find God through the faith of my forefathers, which was Judaism. And so I began to become more religious to try to follow the Jewish religion. But in Judaism, it's so easy to become distracted of what really truly is important, and really, or not just important, but really in the things that bring us towards God and help us to live a faithful life, a life of joy. And the Baal Shem Tov helps to regenerate that feeling. So I hope that you'll appreciate this. We'll from time to time go back to this. But I just wanted to bring what the Sefer calls the Sava'ah, or from the Baal Shem Tov, or the will, the last testament of the Baal Shem Tov. There's another work called the Sava'at Shel HaBaal Shem Tov. That's not this. This is actually a different will that comes in the beginning of Keter Shem Tov, which is usually a very complicated sefer, because some of the actual teachings of the Baal Shem Tov are much more complicated than we might expect. But thank God there's now a biur, an explanation of this Torah. So I'm going to try to bring it to you in as simple way as I possibly can, so we can all understand it and really can all soak in this water. I'm going to bring it directly to you in a short way, so that you can become inspired maybe, and obviously make it a practical use of it to bring it closer to life, and really be purified by this beautiful Torah from our tradition. Okay, let's start. He writes, basically he gives four teachings here that are kind of the introduction to the Sefer, but they're really, they call it a will, but so I would comment on it saying it's one of the four most important things that the Baal Shem Tov brings, the four essentials here. And you might be surprised at what are the essentials for the Baal Shem Tov. That's what I've kind of been asking. Why are these things essential to the Baal Shem Tov? So let's look at him. He says, Liot tamim ba'avodato yitbarach avodat tamah. To be simple or pure in one's service of Hashem, of God, the Spirit of the universe, avodat tamah, work that is pure, right? Worship of God that is pure, whole. Now, tam, that's why you keep hearing me change the translation. Tam is a really complicated word. Tam can mean whole, right? It can mean complete. It could also mean simple. Who's the most famous biblical character called Tam? Yaakov. Ish Tam, Yoshev Ohalim. Jacob was called a simple or Ish Tam, a Tam person, right? Who sat in the tents. And the sages take this as he sat in the tents means he sat in the tents of yeshiva, he sat and learned, okay, you can take it or leave it. But he's called this Ish Tam. So you can say it's a simple person. I don't think Jacob was very simple, right? I don't think that was really the case. I think he was probably a complex character, actually, if I read the narrative at all. So maybe, I don't know if simple's the perfect word here. Complete, maybe, whole. I think Jacob's growing at that point. But there was something that was called Tam about his worship. And so I look forward to learning more about this word. But you can take right now simple, complete, and this is something that the Baal Shem Tov really says. We overcomplicate our worship of God, and that maybe other things, going back to Jacob, maybe there are other things in Jacob's life that was complicated, right? That really, his family relationships, all this stuff. But when it came to God, when it came to coming close to God, when it came close to bringing meaning into his life, to living with the spirit of the universe connected to everything, there was some simpleness about the way Jacob did it. He didn't try to get into the big complex questions immediately. He just went right in and said, if there's a God, this God, I want to speak to this God. I want to be with this God. I want to be in a relationship to it. I want to be connected to it. And I'm going to do what I have to do in that regard. And I love how he calls it avodah, which usually in rabbinic parlance means worship or worship of God, but it also can mean work. Right? And for the Baal Shem Tov, it really is labor. It's a labor of love, but it's a labor to really serve God, to really work to become closer to God and make our Judaism, our connection to God whole. And he writes, Lilmod b'chol yom shior musar hen rav hen me'at. So to learn every day a lesson of musar, which is a Jewish tech term, a book of medieval ethics. Usually musar means something that is not necessarily teaching you new about Torah, that you might have not teaching you facts, but a piece of literature or some kind of words of inspiration that help us to have more awe and awareness of God in our lives, right? To help push us to experience the feelings and make it more of a reality, at least in our feelings inside of us, that God is close to us, and to make it really palpable. Right? We can learn facts all the time. We can study science and all these different things. But if we don't have a feeling that God is with us, that we're actually living out a relationship with God in our lives, then what is this all about anyway? Right? And that's what Musar is supposed to do. It's supposed to actionize. It's supposed to take the Torah, which is potential, and make it kinetic. Right? This is the only thing I learned in physics. Right? Take what is potential and make it into kinetic. Right? Take what is not actually occurred yet, but is only theoretical, and put it into the actual world of one's own life, to push one to actually live out these principles. So he said we should be learning this every day, all the time. He said, so he writes, to see always, to cling oneself to good personality traits and straight behaviors, right? To try to be a good person, right? Try to behave well. And don't get too complicated about this, right? Just be a good person. A lot of us, know the right thing that we should be doing, and we sometimes stray from it. And unfortunately, sometimes in our lives also, our kind of life with God, our spiritual life, one might say, I can meditate for hours and be close to God, but if I, and then I can be a total terrible person in real life. But they go hand in hand, according to the Baal Shem Tov here, right? It goes hand in hand, our connection to God and our clinging to God, and also the way we behave in the world, right? Our good attributes and the way we behave. And he writes, "V'shelo lahaniach shum yom ma'asiyot mitzvah bo hen kala hen chamora." He writes, and not to leave aside even one day without doing a mitzvah. I think this is just such a good teaching for our generation. I mean, really, some of us, live many days, right? Maybe in the Baal Shem Tov's generation, every Jew was keeping Shabbat and doing all these things and praying 3 times a day, all this stuff. right? They were surrounded by religion. They lived in a religious time period. But nowadays, we live in American culture. We live part of the culture. We might go about our day and not think about God once. Right? We might go about our day and really not do, like, not know we're even doing mitzvot, at least, right? You're always doing, by being a good person, by not lying, by not stealing, you're doing mitzvot, right? But we might go like the whole entire day long and not do any mitzvot, right? Or in this world, we live in American culture. But what the Baal Shem Tov is saying is grab at least one mitzvah. Don't let one moment, one day go by without at least doing one mitzvah. And of course, what he's going to say is what mitzvot are about is connecting to God, right? Trying to connect to God through the actions that we take. Are we at least taking one moment, one action a day to connect to God, to really do it in order to connect to God through one of the holy mitzvot, one of the holy sacred deeds of our Torah tradition? And even if it's the tiniest mitzvah, right? Even if I don't know, wash my hands before eating bread, right? If I do netilat yadayim, I pour water on my hands. I just say a simple blessing on my bread. I say a motzi on bread. Thank you, God, for bringing this bread out of the ground. That is a moment of transcendence, what many a great conservative Rabbi Max Kedushin called normative mysticism, right? There's a moment, even doing the smallest mitzvah, even if it's the smallest thing in the world, we can have a moment where we can truly, in our hearts, connect to God through that one mitzvah by saying, yes, it's God who brought this earth, this bread out of the ground, and to really connect with that in our full heart. Right, that is a huge thing. And yes, am I cleaning my house for Pesach? That's a big mitzvah, right? Am I feeding all the poor people in my hometown? That's a great mitzvah. That's a huge mitzvah, a lot of work, right? But and certainly we connect to God through that. But you don't need to go that far every single day. You could only go do a little thing, and through that little thing, that little piece, you can connect to God at that point. And he's saying, don't be upset at yourself that you're not doing more. It's so easy to be so angry, so upset. Why are you doing more? Why aren't you giving more to tzedakah? Why aren't you giving more to charity? Why aren't you going to the synagogue more? All these things that you can yell at yourself about, or especially when you're trying to be observant person, when you're trying to follow Jewish law, there's always another step. There's always something I'm not doing that I should feel guilty about. We always feel guilty about something. I'm not spending enough time doing this. I could always be better doing this. The Baal Shem Tov is saying to us, if we keep thinking like that, then we're going to never have a moment to connect to God. What he's saying is take one mitzvah and do it with tamimut. Do it with purity, do it with simpleness, and know that we can connect to God through that mitzvah wherever you stand at that point. And I love it. He goes in such an interesting place here. He says, very creative, V'simanech hevi zahir b'mitzvah kala kebachamora. And he says here in his in this unique way, there's an idea in Judaism and Torah called siman, or kind of like what we would call a mnemonic, right? A way to remember something, to remember this concept. So he says, siman have zahir b'mitzvah kala kachamora, perush zahir milashon v'hamaskilim yazhir kazohar. Oh, I'm sorry, I brought that from a different place. What he means by siman here is there's something deeper here that we might not see. This is a saying from Pirkei Avot, and it's brought in the beginning of the Shulchan Aruch, the main law code of Judaism. That's how important it is. And he says this idea, zahir b'mitzvah kala kechamora, right? That we should be as careful with our mitzvot, with the light mitzvot, as much as the strong mitzvot. This is so creative. I love what he's saying here. He says, which we said here means we should at least try to do one mitzvah a day, whether it's a very intense, very tough mitzvah, or more of a simple mitzvah. He says here so beautiful. I've never heard this interpretation before. He says, Perush zahir mlashon v'maskilim yazhiru kazohar arakia. There's a beautiful sefer in Judaism called the Zohar HaKodesh, which is the magnum opus of Jewish mysticism, of Jewish Kabbalah, or Jewish mysticism. It was traditionally believed to be written by Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai in the Talmudic period in Eretz Yisrael, in Israel. But most scholars now believe that it was written by followers of a rabbi named Rabbi Moshe de Leon in Spain in the 13th century. But regardless, it is an unbelievable, inspiring sefer. And one of the key verses to this beautiful sefer, and where the title comes from, this pasuk, this verse he's bringing right here. V'hamaskilim yazhiru kezohar arakia. Hamaskilim are the enlightened ones, or the ones who become smart somehow, enlightened, right? Hamaskilim yazhiru kezohar. They shine, yazhir, to shine, they luster like the Zohar, like the sky, like the lustrous sky. Zohar Rakia, the lustrous sky of heaven, right? And it goes on to say they are like the stars. The faces of the countenance of the righteous are as bright as the stars in the sky. This is the beautiful, where the title of the Zohar comes from, HaZohar, right? It's so beautiful. And he's saying here, and he's remarking that what does it mean to be Zahir, right? Usually what Zahir means, that the simple meaning of Zahir is caution, right? Be cautious, be careful, right? That's probably the simple meaning. But what the Baal Shem Tov is taking a creative meaning here. He's drawing what he calls it a siman. There's a sign. There's something pointing to you, something bigger here. And he says that siman is luster, right? Use it as to shine forth, right? Zohar, something that shines forth. So he's saying, take even the smallest mitzvah, be zahir with it. Don't just be cautious with it. Make it shine like the Zohar Arakia, like the stars in the night sky, right? You might think that's something, a little tiny thing to do, saying thank you, walking up to a homeless person and not just, maybe giving some change or having a conversation with them. You might not think it's a big thing. You might not think it's a big deal. Right? But to really do it, like, this is a big deal. This is something that I can connect to God through. This is something that's very, very important, right? It makes it shine. When we really pay attention to those small things, we are really shining through those mitzvot that we do. And he continues on. He says, I love that teaching. Rotze lomar, meaning to say, and he's going to explain it here, haneshama, so much better than I do, haneshama ta'ir, Tazhir mitzvah kala kivachamora, right? So that the mitzvah, even a small mitzvah, he says, the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh says that the soul, our neshama, our souls inside, shine. And this one, Tazhir, that's the language from Perkei Avot, Zahir, Tazhir, in the Baal Shem Tov's creative explanation, Tazhir shines from a light mitzvah, just like with a very stringent, a tough mitzvah. I love this here, right? Just what I just explained. Our soul, inside of us, our soul shines when we do mitzvot, right? People look at yourselves and you think, this is me. My body is what I am. My face, my body. If I go to the gym enough, right? My body outside. What does my body look like? That's who I am. The Baal Shem Tov and every Jewish mystical master does not think that. What makes who we are is our soul, and our soul is connected to God. Is our soul shining? And are we connected to the fact that our soul is shining at that moment? Right? That's who we are. That's who we are. Right? We spend so many hours on the treadmill at the gym, but are we really spending time thinking about our soul? Right? That's who we are inside. And that's what makes us truly content in life, is to make our soul healthy. And what makes our soul shine is the little mitzvot that we do, as well as the stringent, the big mitzvot we do. Any sacred task we do that's connected to the Torah and connected to our tradition helps us to grow in our connection to God and helps our neshama, our soul, shine in that way. They're like fuel for our soul. Ki rachmana liba ba'eh, and this is an Aramaic expression from the Gemara, from the Talmud, because God truly wants our heart. What does God desire? God desires our heart. He desires our kavanah, our intention in the way we behave in this world. That's what God desires. V'zeu shekatuv shomer mitzvah lo yeda devar ra. The one who guards mitzvot, the one who keeps a mitzvah or does a mitzvah, is not going to know an evil thing, is not going to know something bad. I love it. Baal Shem Tov immediately takes this whole entire idea, the theodicy question, away here. Right? It's not about mitzvah, keeping mitzvah is not about I'm never going to get sick ever again. Nothing bad's ever going to happen. I'm going to be rich the rest of my life. Everything's going to be good in life. That's not what he's saying here, right? He's saying your soul is going to shine, right? That's what it means to not have a bad thing happen, is that even when a bad thing does happen, my soul is going to shine. It's not going to be like it's bad at that moment because my soul will shine through. He says, Shomer Lashon Aviv Shamar et Davar. Right, so the this is an expression. The father guards the thing and keeps it secret, right? He keeps it, and he keeps it. He's very serious about it, right? He keeps the word secret. Hainu mitzapeh, right? This is to cover up, right? As I explained. Ken sarich liot mamtin umitzapeh meboker at erev ulai izdamen lo eza mitzvah. So he's looking at it differently. I shouldn't speak too soon. The Baal Shem Tov says what this really means for Shomer of the Aviv Shamar et Davar is that the to constantly seek out something, to constantly look forward to it coming, right? That you're actually looking for Shamar, to be Shamar et Davar, to guard the thing means that you're really looking forward to doing it. You're really looking forward to taking part in that, right? That's what he's saying. We wait all day, night, all day long to look forward to doing a mitzvah in our lives. And obviously a mitzvah is a really big deal if we're waiting for it. And if we really are intentional about the mitzvah we do in our lives, the sacred actions we take to become closer to God, and we really are intentional about what we're doing, and we really look forward. Like, are you really looking forward? I don't know, maybe you pray, maybe you don't pray, but let's say if you say the Shema, or you say Mincha, the afternoon prayer, whatever you do, what's the last time you really looked forward to? You said to yourself, man, I can't wait to come to shul. Right? I can't wait to pray the Ashrei prayer. I need to pray Ashrei. I need to say Psalm 145. Or I just can't wait to go and volunteer. Right? I can't wait to be with those people. I can't wait to do that good thing. Right? I can't wait to be with my children. I just can't wait. I can't wait. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be a transcendent experience. What if we did that with even small things? Right? That would be a beautiful thing. All right. And he finishes this off by saying, V'simana chesed el kol hayom. He finishes off by saying, there's another siman here. And to remember this, chesed el kol hayom. That if we do things very carefully, if we do something good every day, something of chesed every day, we really get chesed in our lives by doing chesed, by doing mitzvot, and receiving chesed, loving kindness from God in our connection. All right, we're going to keep learning the next three this week. Maybe we'll get through the next three. I think we'll get through more than that maybe this week, or in keep listening to these little 20-minute snippets on the Baal Shem Tov here and be inspired. Have a wonderful day, everybody. And any comments or questions, please feel free to message me or talk to me anytime. I'll talk to you soon. Have a great day, guys. Great ER. Bye.